You're listening to PatchBay on tymkrs.
Welcome to PatchBay, conversational podcast all about audio equipment, music, audio engineering, recording, live sound, and other stuff too. Before the show, we were talking about ribs, but I don't think we'll bore you guys with that.
Bore? You can't bore anybody with ribs.
Oh, that's right. We have a special guest this week. I almost forgot.
Hi.
Hello.
What's up?
I'll have to take a picture of said ribs after I'm done.
Yes.
Yeah.
That sounds all tasty.
So, over the last couple episodes here, I've noticed a trend. We answered Colin's questions a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that episode has like as many listens as all the rest of them combined on the webpage.
Nice. Well, there you go. He's fairly addicted. We need to get him on eventually.
So do you think like half of those listens are just Colin listening to...
Re-listening?
Yeah.
He seems to, like on Friday nights, he seems to be fairly excited on the Facebook. But yeah, it might be. I know Jen's cousin as well. He's Kurt. He's also in Colin's band. Is quite addicted to PatchBay as well. So they're always posting.
Oh.
It's good actually. So they're fairly excited.
So it's Kurt and Colin, right?
Kurt and Colin. Those are our two Manitoba fans so far.
Woohoo! Manitoba fans.
Yeah. And I also talked to some fans this week from Austria.
Awesome.
Germany, and the UK.
Those guys make really good microphones in Austria and Germany. Yeah.
Yeah, engineering in general, those guys have got it, hammered down.
Agreed. I'm not sure about the UK as far as audio stuff is concerned. I'm off the top of my head anyway. I know they invented a lot of stuff during the war.
Yeah, and a lot of the modern sort of way that we do things, it was brought to fruition in the States, but a lot of the ideas came out of the UK and out of the BBC and all that.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of the engineering techniques for sure were created in the UK. I know for a fact that in the UK they used quite a lot of Shure mics back in the day and Royer microphones as well. I don't think they had access obviously to the Neumanns when recording was started. Neumann, I believe, came about because of the war actually. So which worked out well for them obviously because they got funding to do that in the first place because they were making like field transmitters and stuff like that.
Interesting.
A lot of the big Shure growth was due to World War II as well, because they got the contract to do all of the microphones for the U.S. military.
Yeah, even microphones like for headsets for airplanes and all that stuff. That's what both of those companies, as far as I know, were doing throughout the war. So their R&D was paid for by their armies basically, and then they went on to be manufacturers after the fact. So
thanks, Grandpa. Thanks, Grandma. Yeah. Your taxes went to good microphone design.
Yeah, buy war bonds to make good microphones.
You think the engineers were told, like, to put them in small packages or to maintain high fidelity? Like, that's kind of an interesting thing. Like, okay, guys, we got a bunch of pilots. They need transmitters.
I personally like Shure's microphones started out as, I don't believe they had any condensers at the time. They had ribbon microphones and solid state microphones, right? My dynamic microphones. It's Neumann that they built the condensers. So that may have had something to do with it. They were maybe trying to get better fidelity in the first place, especially depending on how long distance some of the stuff needed to be traveled. Although I have to do some more research on that. The only problem with the condenser mic though is like in an airplane, you probably pick up more airplane than actual human being.
Right.
Like that might be a problem. So I don't know. I guess it really kind of depends on the situation. But
I know one of the reasons why they went with Shures for a lot of things was because a lot of the Shure mics are designed to have really good off-axis rejection.
Yeah.
And
whereas
considering that we were fighting the Axis powers, that
that was a bad joke. Yeah.
Yeah, but seriously, they did have good off-axis rejection. So that means basically that if the mic's not pointing at it, it doesn't hear it, and that's really good for noisy situations.
Yeah, exactly. That's, I mean, it. As far as the recording is concerned, I mean, obviously it comes down to what you're doing and what else is going on. But they're both those microphones are great kinds of microphones. It just depends on what you need to use them for, obviously.
Quick, you're getting fired at. What kind of microphone would you want?
Yeah, exactly. I don't. Depends on if you're the documentary filmmaker. Those poor bastards with their cameras and no guns. That just doesn't seem like a good plan. But
those cameras were beefy enough to stop a bullet back then, though.
This is true. Yeah, yeah. It's just putting the film back in the camera afterwards, which would be a royal pain in the butt. Anyway, so I did a bunch of hip hop in the last few weeks.
Oh.
Nothing exciting per se, very sort of straightforward hip hop. So that's sort of been my last few weeks. I've got a couple other things on the go coming up in the next few weeks, but no stories yet anyway.
No dropped pants.
No dropped pants yet. Now, you got to see that picture as well?
I did. And I was like, Whisker, why do we have pictures of this in our mailbox?
Half-naked dudes in studios.
Correct.
I seem to inspire male nudity in my studio for whatever reason. I don't know why, but
chickabow.
Yeah, and 9 times out of 10, there's normally no females in the studio either. So
now, some of you listeners out there may be a little bit lost, not about the male nudity thing, because we already covered that on this show, but you may be a little bit lost on who the female voice is here, because we didn't actually introduce her and why she would be reading my email.
Oh, right.
Fair enough.
I'm a hacker. I'm a net hacker. Email hacker.
She hacked into our podcast.
It's true.
He has the same password for everything, doesn't he?
No. I don't think I could guess them, even if I tried.
No.
I'm just skilled like that.
I actually have every single thing has a different one, and they're all like 20 characters long, alphanumeric strings.
Yep.
That's how my wife does it as well, actually. She has a set of numbers she uses, but then she modifies things and stuff like that. So, I don't know. Yeah.
So this is Addie, and she's sort of she's usually a co-host on most of the podcasts that I'm a co-host on. And I thought we'd bring her on today for a minute and let her join in the fun over here, because this is one of the shows that she's usually not interested in doing, because I don't think she likes Canadians very much.
Not true.
Them fight words.
I love me some Canadians.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's mostly for the bacon.
And the ribs.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Actually, I'm excited to have you on.
Thank you. I'm excited to be on.
I just need to come up with some good questions.
No. I just sit here in front of the mic. Sounding silly.
Getting back to the females in the studio. So the hip-hop guys did bring their posse, which hip-hop guys tend to do.
Wow, how did that go?
It's retarded, actually.
Cooked fish.
Just as a, point. Don't bring people with you to the studio unless they're part of the band. It's never helpful, you know.
What do they do? Were they just like, oh man, that sounds sick?
Yeah, I think he was kind of expecting them to sort of be cheerleaders, but instead they just sort of drank. And I was busy watching the door and making sure people were coming back in after they went outside for smokes, and not really paying much attention to the actual recording. Right. And then at one point I had to yell at them to shut up so that I could actually hear what the guy... Because what was happening was, and I've had this happen before, I turned the volume up, they talk louder. I turned the volume up, they talk louder. So finally I just sort of turned around and went, if you care about your buddy, you'll shut up. There's a lounge in the hallway. Go hang out there if you need to talk. So it was 3 girls and 2 dudes. 1 dude was the actual hip hop guy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, you're always going to be more productive when it's just you and your bandmates, unless it's a specific listening party where everything's recorded after the fact, which those are quite a lot of fun. I've had a few of those in the studio, but it's never a smart idea to bring in significant others into the studio.
So did they stop talking afterwards, or like go outside, or did they stare at you funny?
I sort of went like, I don't mean to be a dick, but, and then they were quiet for about a half an hour, and then it just sort of went back up to uproarious volume again. So I mixed the whole thing on headphones, which is fine because I have one set of headphones that I always use for everything. So the guy had those Dre Beats headphones. Have you listened to those things?
No.
No?
No.
Yeah, Dr. Dre put up headphones for hip hop kids, and they're like $200.
Are they any good?
They're ridiculously bassy, you know.
Of course.
Yeah.
So your neighbors can hear you.
Pretty much, yeah. For like, it's funny too because you know the generation went from the giant headphones to earbuds to back to giant headphones again, but they're super boomy. And apparently, Lemmy from Motorhead just put out headphones for rock people, and it's got more mid range and less boom and high end on them.
More emo.
Yeah. It's just that mid range kind of, you know, Motorhead sort of thing. So I'm waiting for the classical headphones that are all high end only. It's all violins the whole time.
No, the good classical systems need to be able to get down to that 18 hertz.
Yeah.
So that you can get that low C completely covered. Yeah. The classical guys are very serious about their bass.
They are, actually. Those guys are very serious about everything.
Yeah, their systems will kick the crap out of a hip hop system any day.
Right. Yeah. Well, listening to classical though.
You can put hip hop on there and it'll be amazing too because they're all about being able to accurately represent.
Right. Yeah.
Whatever's on the recording. So you know, if it sounds like crap, that's because. Well, hip hop sounds like crap.
Yeah. Well, some hip hop is I don't mind. I'm really getting into Macklemore lately. But some of the stuff that I've done over the last few years, guys tend to sort of stick to the very, very, very basic verse chorus, run out of time and let it fade out and yell so and so on the mic. Whatever stuff. So it's pretty formulaic. Although I do tend to have fun with doing some interesting vocal processing on choruses and stuff like that when they're not asking for auto-tune.
Oh.
You know? Yeah.
What a shame.
Trying to explain auto-tune to people.
Just play them Kesha.
Yeah.
Kesha.
The thing about autotune though is, and these guys don't, they just think that you can turn it on and it'll automatically be like, you know, but it's all bearing on what the performance of the, you know, the vocal is. If you're not changing pitches frequently through the chorus or whatever, it's not going to have that effect. If you just go like, it's just going to just do that, you know? So trying to explain that to people sometimes, I'm like, it is autotune. They're like, no, it doesn't sound autotune. I'm like, that's because you're not actually singing anything that'll make it sound autotune. Because it chops it and pulls it back to the correct note, you know? So the more melismo you can put in it, the more it's going to be over the top and Cher sounding. Anyway, I need cue cards sometimes. Like the frequently asked cue card question. Here you go. Here's your answer. You know? But yeah. Anyway. Okay, so
Shane's in a mood today. You can tell.
I am. Yeah, he's grumpy. So apparently you're getting some new equipment. Apparently.
Ouch.
Is it audio stuff or is it video stuff?
Yeah, I guess. It's
sort of video stuff. Yeah.
It's we talked about it last time. The live H.264 encoder that can switch between HDMI video feeds. But it also has that AES EBU digital audio input. So I guess it is kind of audio too, because it's pulling the audio into that whole time synced video encoding magic fun. But one of the things that it's going to enable us to do here in this studio is to have more than one Skype machine running, so that we can have, instead of having our guest be sitting here in the studio like Addie's doing right now, they'll be able to be out there on the internets anywhere in the world. And I think we have someone in mind.
Yeah, I believe so.
He's probably re-listening to this podcast right now.
Right
Manitoba
now.
fan.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll get Colin on, and there'll be 4 of us all jibber jabbering at the same time. It'll be good. Actually, I'm excited. So you're purchasing said device?
Yeah, it's like $1,000, man.
Whoa.
Seriously.
That's not good. Well, it's good, but that's expensive.
It hurts.
Now would be probably an appropriate time to do what we were talking about before, where we get Addie to explain stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
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 Considering we were just talking about a giant purchase of equipment to fulfill everybody's lives better.
And we were also talking about how Shure was able to bring us into the modern age because they had a lot of funding from the U.S. government.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Our listeners are our U.S. government.
Yeah. Toymaker Television is sort of listener supported. This show is published through that network.
It is. And so we are just asking folks that if you enjoy the soothing, sultry sounds of your 2 lovely hosts here, that you donate. Even $1 is perfectly fine.
Wait, are callers on? Are there like banks of phones here with blinking lights?
Yes.
Yep.
You will get what is it that we were offering?
Yeah, like the hits package.
Yes.
I could put the hits package together, no problem, at my work. Easy peasy.
Awesome.
I got a sick printer that does full color, like sick stuff.
Right. So 12 sick CDs of awesome.
Actually, we could just put all of the podcasts on a DVD and do a like print job and send it off to people who donate a reasonable amount of money.
That would be awesome.
That would be a relatively easy thing for me to do, and we could maybe even sign them or something exciting.
Whoa!
Yeah,
signed.
Something like that. Anyway,
hey, that's exciting. I wanted signed copy too. Yeah,
that could be fun to do.
So all yours for $199.999.99, shipping and handling included.
There you go.
Or a buck,
Or a buck.
Whatever you guys feel like doing.
It
all helps because, we've got to do some stuff to get things up to quality here. I know one listener in Germany was complaining that the levels on the mastering aren't high enough on this show, and it's true. And one of the reasons for that is that Shane's audio setup at work is probably nice, but the one that he has at home stinks.
It stinks, yeah.
So we need to get him a USB headset.
It is not sick.
It's pooped together.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
It's sick,
Agreed.
but it's not sick. Yes.
Okay.
And this whole ATEM thing, I need to pick up the limiter compressor expander gate thing that goes along with it so that we can master the audio on the way in.
Yep.
And that's like another $150. So anything you guys can do would be great.
I would even venture and say that for the right people and for the right donation, Whisker and I would be willing to do a custom song, zombie themed song.
There you go.
For you. And, obviously, please request it.
Love it. I love it. That's a great idea.
Because we love you guys. And if you guys love us, we would love to see that love. And then we will reciprocate that love.
I need to come up with some money to get the Zombies Making Microphones song.
Ooh.
There you go. Write that down.
Yes, I should. Good idea.
All right. So if anyone out there is interested in helping us produce this show and all the other shows that we do, you can donate over at tymkrs.com/donate.
Yes.
And it'll go to help this show and all the other educational stuff that we do on the other 5 shows a week that we produce too. Because we like to pick out things to put the money towards that helps everything that we do.
Yes. Whisker's eyes got a little wider when I volunteered him for making music.
What?
Probably like,
I'm
have
extremely
you
busy
seen
already.
my schedule?
Yeah.
That's all right. This is the joys of multi-track recording, though.
There
Lay
you
it
go.
down, and then wait for him to come up with the rest of the parts. You know,
Thanks, Shane.
that's what I would do.
Auto-tune it, Whisker. Auto-tune it.
Yeah, and then you can email me the track, and I'll put a guitar solo on it afterwards.
Dude.
That's the genius of the internet, though. I've been having the fun with some of the file sharing sites, and had a few cool run-ins with doing mixes for people in the last little while and mastering and stuff like that using Dropbox, things like that. So yeah, it's fun because everything can actually. Back in the day, they used to actually have to send ADAT tapes via mail to people to, which would take like 4 weeks to get a piano solo back or whatever. But yeah, there's actually speaking to that too. I have to check what the website's called, but there's an audio engineering website that's built for getting your mixes done by pro mixers, but there's also an amateur version of the site as well. It's kind of like the whole online session musician guy thing where you can, if you don't know a decent drummer, you can send a track to this guy and he'll record it and send it back to you.
That's
and you can actually talk via Skype while these guys are laying their stuff down. And yeah, so I have to find it, but I know there was 2 versions of this site. One of them you needed at least 5 major label credits to be considered a professional mixer, and then there was like the amateur version. So
it's like a band getting a drummer without the commitment.
Right. Exactly.
But wait, isn't that true for all drummers?
This is true. You're becoming very Spinal Tap now.
Yeah, wait till we get Colin on here and we keep on with the drummer jokes. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I've got a ridiculous amount of drummer jokes and guitar player jokes, and I actually found a whole website dedicated to female singer jokes, which were entertaining as well. So I need to keep them around at the studio because it's usually somebody. Normally with bands, there's usually one person that they pick on, so I always need to remember a few opposing ones to let loose when people start picking on the saxophone player or whatever. The cool thing about those sites, I was going to say, is not so much for finding drummers, but if you're looking for a lap steel guy, for a tune, there's a lot more of the sort of not oddball instruments, but ones that aren't everybody plays all the time kind of stuff that you can find out there. So, which is handy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds
so
very
I'll have to find the links. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but
we're working on that album that we started earlier this year for the little band that we were sort of kind of doing on the side for fun.
Complete fun.
Electric Kodama band.
Kodama.
So, yep. And our
EKB baby.
Yeah. Our guitarist is down in Albuquerque, and we're obviously up here in Rochester. And we're starting to do that thing where we send files back and forth.
That's fun.
Yeah, so we're getting into that too.
Yeah, you guys didn't track any of that with the click, obviously, right? That was just sort of off the cuff, kind of, to a degree?
No, it's, I laid down the drum patterns.
Right, yeah.
The day of. And for the 2 tracks that we laid down that weekend. And then now what I've been doing is recording just quick video clips of ideas for progressions and then passing them down. And then Kumi's working on doing the licks and stuff to go along with them. And then when it's together enough, I redo it with a proper drum track and with the rhythm guitar doing the progression in good time. Send out a good copy for the whole DAW, So they
fun writing like that.
In. I wish I had more time to do that sort of thing.
When you get it all done, send it to me and I'll master it and send it back to you via Dropbox while we're at it.
Yeah, I would like to see the difference between you doing a master on this material and me doing a master on it and see the differences between the two.
Yeah, that would be interesting to do. I use I use some software stuff. I use some hardware stuff. it depends sometimes. I usually kind of keep mastering in mind as I'm mixing as well. I know there's sort of a thing about you really should have one guy record it, one guy mix it, one guy master it. There's been talk like that, but I mean, 95% of the projects that I do, I tend to sort of start and finish. But I have been parts of the chain sometimes as well.
Is that so that you don't have bias when you're listening to it?
This is what they claim. It's also sort of, I think, to agree, some urban myth that was created by maybe guys that were only mixers or guys that were only mastering engineers that would say stuff like that to a band, that they really needed an extra set of ears and et cetera, et cetera. I think to a degree it is. I mean, like anybody can sort of act as a second set of ears, and it's always good to have that on a project. I have a friend. I when I get in deep in a project and I start not seeing the forest and the trees, I'll usually send it to him and just say, "Am I close?" kind of. So, and I think a lot of people sort of have that. And he's a super music guy as well. So yeah, I think it depends on the situation, but I don't believe that you really need to do that. And speaking to that, I don't know if I always like the idea of people recording stuff in different rooms, but that's besides the point. You know what I mean? Like if you're trying to come up with a cohesive sounding band and you've got, 10 different rooms within that mix, it just seems kind of odd to me, but that's the way recording's done nowadays, so it's just the way it is, I guess, but yeah.
Gotcha.
There are some tricks you can do in the mix to sort of put them back into the same psychoacoustic space anyway. Done a little bit of that myself. When I go to master, I typically try to give everything its own band, so that there's only things across the frequency bands that I want to, so that they interact with each other, and I try to keep everything else as separate as I can, just to keep everything as lack of mud, I think would be a good way of saying it.
Getting the mud out is a smart idea. The other thing that I tend to try and do as much as possible when I'm mastering is to listen to it in different places. I mean, I trust my speakers and I know what my room sounds like, but that doesn't it doesn't always work. You need to reference it in other places, and when you're burning the final CD master, always burn it as slow as possible, because it'll bite you in the butt if you don't. So it's a good time to go for coffee. Put it on 1X and leave. Yeah. And that's just so that, if you run 1,000 CDs and there's an error in the PQ code, you're going to have 1,000 shingles.
Now, what headphones do you use when you're listening that way?
I have a El Cheapo set of Sony headphones that I currently have on my head that came with a Walkman, that I've had since I got not the CD Walkman, not a tape Walkman, but those are the ones I use at home, at work. When I'm tracking and playing guitar in the studio, I use them. They're just comfortable, and I know what they sound like. They're sort of they're total consumers. They're not. I mean, most of the decisions I make are on the speakers anyway. But yeah, if I have to, I'll mix on these, and usually do out okay. It's where the consumer ones tend to have a problem is exactly what you were talking about, the mud area. But if you're aware of it, then then you can take steps to change it.
I think we use AKG K77s here in the studio. They're sealed so that we don't get much coming back into the mics, because most of what we do is live. So it's kind of important that the monitoring doesn't get picked up. And I think we use similar monitors to you, actually.
Yeah, I think we have the exact same monitors. I have another set of sort of like crappy Orotone type speakers that I will hook up once in a while and listen to. And I actually had a old Ghetto Blaster, like one of the bigger ones with the 5 CD tray on top. but it had an auxiliary input, which was quite nice. So that was sort of the real world kind of ghetto blaster, and I had it sort of not in a location where you're going to sit. Nobody sits right in front of their ghetto blaster, right, and listens to stuff critically. So it was, just on a corner table or something, and so that was kind of nice to be able to like listen to it in here's a real world sort of situation, right?
Yeah. In
so
Eddie's generation, they all listened to it through those crappy earbuds and destroy every ounce of beauty and splendor that we spent hours and days and weeks putting into the mix.
No.
You're a bad person, and everyone your age is a bad person. You're horrible.
Whisker, you're just jealous of my youth. Okay? Number 1. Number 2, I used to listen to non-iPod things. Thank you very much. The one I still have is first generation, so poo to you. Right?
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, they sent me an email too saying that there was a defect in my first generation one and that they were willing to replace it free of charge.
I actually seen one on eBay a while ago, a first generation one that was loaded with like a ridiculous ton of trip hop and electronica and stuff. And the guy was like, "Here, you can buy it and totally have my whole library of trip hop and electronica, or you can delete it, whatever you want."
Whatever.
I thought it was kind of funny, like that was his selling point, So it's got like 10,000 songs of. There's lots of cool hacks for those old ones though. Like you can run Linux on them and play. Yeah, I've actually read in a few. I have a Mac Life magazine somewhere on running Linux on an iPod, or yes, iPod. Jesus, with that. And you can actually set it up to run not the AAC files, but what is that? Ogg Vorbis files.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they sound really good, those files. So, but then
that's cool.
Yeah, not to be even more nerdy than a nerdy person walking around with an MP3 player. You're walking around with a hacked Linux one playing files that nobody else can listen to because they don't have a file program to play it. I just think is awesome.
It's called individuality.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm not bowing down to the man. There's a penguin and not an apple on this. It actually comes up with a penguin on the. I'll see if I can find an article.
Should be a penguin like eating an apple.
Yeah, you need to put that in the show notes this week.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it. It was in a Mac Life magazine, how to hack it. I don't know if I'm trying to remember if it was a first gen or if it was second gen, but I'm sure if it worked on second gen, you could do it on a first gen one, I would think.
And this is why in the show intro, I always say and other stuff, because you never know where Shane's going to end up.
So bad.
Random.
Derail.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us this week, Addie.
Anytime.
Careful
you know what?
with that.
Whisker will actually.
I like having Addie on the shows with me, but
I have a circuited reverse engineer.
Yeah.
So,
nerd girl. All right, that's it for us for this week. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate it. You can find this show every Friday evening at patchbay.tv. There's an RSS link there on the side of the page if you want to have it automatically downloaded to your phone, iTunes, your hacked first generation iPod running Linux, whatever.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for us. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.